Here we are. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's going to be a little bit different. If you haven't noticed already, we have something just up here a little bit different. I'm not Ryan. Okay, I'm Jerome. I'm the community ambassador here at Free Recovery Community. Free Recovery Community is a recovery community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And together we break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there are 4 words that we don't do here, if you'd say them with me. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
We don't do shame.
Yes, that fills me up every time I hear it. I appreciate it. Thanks for your enthusiasm tonight. I would also like to welcome those who are here for the first time. We really appreciate it. And for our online viewers, great to see you and be with you tonight. We have some welcome bags for those who are here. Please see a staff member, myself or someone from the home team. They're out walking around. They actually might be out there. I want to remind you, we had a little celebration between services. There is some food and beverage available for those who want it. Chris, would you come up? We have a few announcements to make, just a little bit of housekeeping.
Well, coming up at Free Community, we've got a few things coming up. So this week is starting the, where are we? Oh, yeah. So job readiness workshop, sorry about that. We had Kristen come up and talk about it last service, but the job readiness workshop is going to take place from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And it will be, what day is that? I can't quite tell.
It starts on Monday.
It starts on Monday. Oh, yeah, last Monday of every month.
And it's not just for those who are in recovery or those who are struggling just to find employment. There will be value for you by just attending. So if this is a topic of interest to you, please come and join us. This is an incredible team who is also part of our community. But please show up. It will be starting on Monday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and it's for folks, if you're having trouble, maybe you don't know where to start with getting a job in your recovery, or maybe you've been trying and you're just not having any luck. There's going to be a lot of resources and a lot of great advice and folks to talk to. So it's going to be a great event. So. And
Kristen told me one thing. She said it's for those who might be in a less than favorable or toxic work environment. Does that make sense? Like, I'm sure plenty of people can relate, right? So come see her. She's gonna help out. Our final scheduled dynamic dinner is on Friday. There was some space available still last week. I have not checked today. But if you're interested, please get signed up. Time is running out.
And it's a great opportunity to come together with others and have a more intentional gathering type of experience. And it's been highly recommended by Ryan and Noel and others in the community. So, and coming up July 6th, there will be a rest week. We do this twice a year, once around Christmas and once in the middle of the summer. So, please don't come expecting service. You can show up, but there won't be anyone here.
Yeah, if you call or text me, I'm probably not going to answer because I'm going to be rested.
There might be a 12-step meeting if you show up, but we don't know.
Yeah, it could happen. We'll see.
Yep.
One more announcement is we have our new Al-Anon group by popular demand. A lot of people have been talking about this. Very interested. It is a very helpful group for this community. It starts Wednesday evenings, 6 or 7, I don't recall, but more information on our website. Please check it out. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. That's all for announcements. For one of our first traditions, we will be acknowledging our celebrations. Just as much as we like to celebrate the small victories, we like to hear about the big ones too. So for now, the next 3 minutes, this time is yours to celebrate what's going on in your life. I do have Adam on this side and Chris on this side. 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name's Layla. I just want to celebrate 38 days sober today.
Yeah! Congratulations, Layla.
My name's Beth, and I I finally put myself into sober living in IOP for the first time in my life. I have 12 days sober.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Katie, and me and my husband Bill are celebrating 22 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
I'm Kai, and I'm celebrating 463 days free of fentanyl.
Congratulations, Kai.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm celebrating 39 days sober from today.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Okay, we're almost at the halfway mark.
My name is Zach. I'm celebrating 27 days sober today.
Congratulations, Zach.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm celebrating 44 days sober.
Congratulations, Ryan.
My name's Seth, and I got 32 days sober today.
All right. Thanks for sharing, Chris.
My name's Chris. I'm an addict. I'm celebrating the fact that my wife and my daughter and my grandson are joining me here at Free today, which is a miracle in and of itself.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Chris.
I'm Isaac, and I'm celebrating 1 week today, sober.
Congratulations. Thanks for being here.
I'm Bill, and I just want to say thanks to my wife after that 2,100-mile motorcycle ride. She didn't complain one time. She's the best.
Does anyone have one last share to take us home tonight? Okay.
Hi, my name's Robin. One of my dear friends couldn't be here tonight, but he celebrates 6 months sober tomorrow, and I'm so happy for him.
Thank you for sharing. All right, now that we got that out of the way, thanks for sharing, everyone. Are we going to do online shares tonight? Okay, Chris, would you accompany and help me share those? Thank you to our online community for sharing with us. We really appreciate it, and it's been very special for me to sometimes sit and operate behind the scenes, but our interactions are incredibly powerful, and some of you have even reached out through social media into our DMs or sharing on our public pages asking for help. And then I notice a couple weeks later them sharing sobriety dates that are perfectly aligned with the day they asked for help. I cannot stress enough how we are here to help you even if we never meet. So for that, thank you. I'm so glad that you are a tech guy, Chris.
I'm not sure I can help this situation. We might
That's
have to turn
okay.
around.
Okay, no problem. We can move forward. I did forget to mention one thing, that Tammy and Ryan are out celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary. That's the reason they're not here. Noelle is on her honeymoon for tonight, also celebrating her marriage. And our dear Karie got tested positive for COVID today. So could not make it out of, she wanted to push through it, but she understands that getting someone else sick is not really pushing through it. So that's why we're here tonight. And, oh, great. Hey, we're going to just turn around and share since this is all we can do. Do you want to share the first one?
Sure. First message is from Kayla Weishart. I'm celebrating 58 days sober, and after 3.5 years of no work, I had my first day at my new job. Well, awesome, Kayla.
Congratulations, Kayla. Mark, my celebration tonight is after a mini stroke last Wednesday, and after all the tests and MRI discovered 2 brain aneurysms, but caught so early we were immediately treating it. God is good. Mark, thanks for sharing. Really
Excellent.
happy you're here with us tonight.
All right, Brian says 6 months tomorrow. All right, Brian.
Nice work, Brian.
Keep at it, man.
That's it.
Apparently it.
All right, for the next thing tonight, we have a very special guest with us tonight who is taking place of Ryan and sharing the gift of the message with you. Sarah Hornbuckle is a wife, a mother, a singer-songwriter. She loves Jesus, and she also has the Hornbuckle Foundation, a nonprofit that provides scholarships for those exiting residential treatment for sober living and recovery coaching, and we are so lucky to have her. Without further ado, Sarah Hornbuckle.
I like this right on guy in the front here. You're gonna be my person tonight. I'm gonna raise this up just a little bit. My name is Sarah. I'm so happy to be here tonight. It is an honor to be here, to be asked to bring this to you today. Anybody ever heard the story of Jonah? Yeah? That's what we get to talk about. And I know it's something that we listen to maybe when we were kids, or you see a poster about it or something, but I'm going to kind of give you the adult version of how it applies to our lives. So we are in week 5 of emotions, and today is about anger. It was really funny when Ryan asked me a few months ago if I would fill in for him, and he was like, well, what emotion do you want to do? And immediately I was like, anger, of course, kind of an expert, no problem. But here's the thing. That when you sign up to step out of your comfort zone or to share a message or a certain topic, God has this really funny way of helping you hone those skills. He allows you to go through a situation that is exactly what you need to be able to have the expertise for how to do this. Not saying I'm an expert in any way, but I will tell you, I struggled with anger this week. I hit a level of anger that I have not experienced in years. I'm a woman in recovery. I've got 8 years in recovery, which is exciting and it's awesome. But man, that anger still holds on sometimes. So on Memorial Day, my son's dad punched my son in the face. He's 16 years old, 5 times, giving him a black eye. And there are going to be no consequences, I found out, on Wednesday. Wednesday, the DA investigator called me, no consequences. And I was like, what? Why? Why not? And so I was enraged, absolutely enraged. It took me until yesterday to finish this message because I had to work through some anger this week. So, because I want justice. I want consequences. I want revenge. But sometimes, God chooses to show mercy instead of judgment. And part of our relationship with God is being okay with that and trusting that He knows what He is doing, and I don't. And you know what? Thank God for that. Because you and I have received mercy that we don't deserve as well. So the title of this message is called God's Mercy and Jonah's Anger. Now, the book of Jonah is in the Old Testament of the Bible. There's 4 chapters to it. And Jonah was a prophet around 786, 785 BC. A prophet is a person that has been chosen by God to talk to the people, as if like messages from God. Where people wanted to hear from God, they could do it through a prophet. And it's one of my favorite stories because I, like Jonah, get angry. I get angry at the injustices done to me, done to other people, and I get angry about how God decides to handle situations because it's never how I would handle them. God asked Jonah to go to Nineveh and to tell them about the good news, about a better way to live. Following God's commands, loving God, serving each other. Now, the Ninevites, they had this history of being very, very cruel. They actually created religions just to break the commandments of God. So I'm talking killing babies, hurting other people, murder, you name it. They were these guys. And so Jonah's like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. And God's like, yeah, but that's what I'm asking you to do. But Jonah thinks that they are so far gone and so evil and that they will never change and they should be destroyed. So he hops on a boat and he goes in the opposite direction of Nineveh. You ever done that? You ever go in the opposite direction that you know you're not supposed to go, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't like your idea. I like my idea a little bit better. So while on the boat, a huge storm comes. I mean, it is tearing this boat up, and people are all afraid. They're throwing cargo off the ship. They're praying to their gods, and they just don't know what to do. So one of the customs from back in the day is called casting lots. It's like you have a group of sticks, and there's one short one, and in order to figure out who's responsible, they're like, pick a stick. So Jonah drew the short stick. Jonah 1, 8 through 12. So they asked him, tell us, who is responsible for making all this trouble for us? What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you? He answered, I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the God of heaven who made the sea that is trying to kill you right now and the dry lands. This terrified them, and they asked, well, what have you done? Because they knew he was running away from God, because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, what should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us? Pick me up, throw me into the sea, he replied, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. This is not the first time that Jonah wants to die in this story. At first, they tried to row back to land, but the storm grew even wilder. So they threw him overboard. He got thrown out of society. Have you ever been so deep in a situation or in addiction that you just wanted to die? But God wouldn't let him. You see, he sent a giant fish called a leviathan. You ever Google that? It's one of the monstrous fish back in the day. And it swallowed him whole. Jonah spent 3 nights and 3 days in the belly of this fish. Can you imagine wanting to die, getting swallowed by a fish, and spending 3 days and nights in what feels like hell? You see, sometimes God puts us in situations where we are so broken and miserable so that maybe, just maybe, you would want to change. Maybe you'd want to do things a better way. Or you could just blame God and get angry. So it took him a little while. Jonah didn't pray until day 3. Can you imagine those first 2 days? I'm sure he thought that he was just going to die. He just kept waiting for it. And all of a sudden, he didn't die. I know a lot of us have lost a lot of friends to overdose, alcohol, and suicide. But you're here. Why? Why is it when you wished for death or you thought you were going to die, but you didn't? What happened? Who intervened on your behalf? Who was praying for you? Was God looking out for you? I would say so. That doesn't mean he wasn't looking out for the ones that we lost. He loves us all the same. But for some reason, and we know why, Jonah was supposed to live because he had a job to do. His job wasn't done yet. So on day 3, Jonah prayed. In my distress, I called to God, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead, I called for help, and you listened to my cry. You hurled me into the depths, into the very heart of the seas, and the current swirled about me. All your waves and breakers swept over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. The engulfing waters threatened me. The deep surrounded me. Seaweed was wrapped around my head. To the roots of the mountains I sank down. The earth beneath barred me in forever. But you, my God, brought my life up from the pit. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, God, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed, I will make good. I will say salvation comes from God. And God commanded the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto dry land. Gross. Have you ever prayed a prayer like that? You ever been so desperate? God, I won't ever do this again. I promise I will do everything that you ask. I won't drink again. I won't lose my temper again. I promise I won't drive drunk again. I promise I won't do this if you just get me out of this. Have you prayed that? And then you just went right back and did all the things that you said you weren't going to do. This is that prayer. Now, I believe that Jonah meant every word that he said, and I believe that I meant and that you meant every word of that prayer that you prayed for God to get you out of that situation. But we're human, and Jonah's human. Sometimes we break our promises. So, Jonah is now out of detox. He has humbled himself, and he is ready to go spread the good news of forgiveness. You know, scientists say that when he was spit up onto the land, that his skin was likely bleached white from all the acid in the fish's belly. I know, the acid in the fish's belly. Oh man, can you imagine that he probably smelled like rotting fish? Like, this man was a mess. Like, think about like day 3 of sobriety, and you're like, yeah, I probably smelled that bad too. Jonah took the long road, just like most of us, to get to where God wanted him to be. And he finally reaches Nineveh. And he preaches the good news, and to everyone's surprise, they didn't kill him. That was the biggest thing. Usually if you go into Nineveh, you'd be like, repent, change your ways. They'd be like, yeah, we're just going to kill you and call it a day. That's what he kind of expected. But they didn't kill him. The king made a decree. Hey, the Hebrew God is going to destroy us if we don't do this, so everybody get on board. And they changed. So Jonah's job is done, right? But he gets angry because Jonah has been thrown off a ship, swallowed by a fish, forced to go to talk to people he didn't want to talk to, smelling like absolute garbage, and it seems that Jonah was the only one who received consequences for not obeying God. Nineveh was completely forgiven. I feel like Jonah this week. One of the lessons that God tries to teach his people in both the Old and New Testaments of the Bible is that everyone who calls on the name of God will be saved. For some reason, still to this day, there is a belief that some people just should not be saved. They should get a punch in the face, or maybe even a small house fire. It's the addicts, the alcoholics of the world, the violent ones who I still have to deal with. We forget that out of all the things God is love. He is merciful and forgiving, even to the worst of the worst. And that is good news. Jonah 4. But to Jonah, this seemed very wrong, and he became angry. He prayed to God, isn't this what I said when I was still at home? That's what I tried to prevent by fleeing, because I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger, abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity. Now, Lord, take away my life, for it is better for me to die than to live. He was so angry that he wanted to die. Second time. Some would say he was suicidal and maybe a little whiny. We kind of wonder, what was God thinking of making him his mouthpiece? But again, it's the least of these, right? It's the imperfect humans that are called by God. The Lord replied, is it right for you to be angry? You know what I like about this too? Is that God didn't tell him what he should do or how he should act or how he should feel. He used motivational interviewing. Is it right for you to be angry? So on Wednesday, when I was about to lose my mind, I got this book and this message I'm trying to put together, and all I see is it right for you to be angry? Oh, man. The way I see it is I have one job as a parent, and that's to protect and love my children, right? So if I destroy his dad, will that protect my son? Is that loving my son? I had a guy come up to me after the 5 o'clock service, and he said, I like what you said there, because what you really want is for your son to have a dad who's recovered, right? Who's healed, who's present, who loves him, who won't hurt him. I said, yeah, that's exactly what I want. And I want to beat it into him sometimes, but I can't, because I got a message to preach on Saturday. Many of the things that I have accomplished in my life have come from a place of anger. I run a nonprofit that helps addicts and alcoholics recover. I get angry at what addiction does to kids, what it does to families, what it does to us. If it makes us angry, how do you think God feels? He feels that times 1,000,000. Jonah 4, 5 through 10. Jonah had gone out and sat down at a place east of the city. There he made himself a shelter, sat in its shade, and waited to see what would happen to the city. Right? He's waiting. Bet they're gonna get burnt. Bet they're gonna get destroyed. I'm just gonna be here for the show because I'm gonna watch this happen. Then God provided a leafy plant and made it grow up over Jonah to give shade for his head, to ease his discomfort. And Jonah was very happy about the plant. Like, finally, right? Like, you're happy about something. But at dawn the next day, God provided a worm, which chewed the plant so that it withered. You guys got some worms in your life? You're like, I got a good thing going. Whack, worm. Dang it. When the sun rose, God provided a scorching east wind, and the sun blazed on Jonah's head so that he grew faint. Again, no surprise here. He wanted to die and said, it would be better for me to die than to live. But God said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? It is, he said. And I'm so angry, I wish I were dead. Again. That's so human, right? God, I was angry this week. But the Lord said, you have been concerned about this plant, though you did not tend to it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight, and you're so angry you want to die? God is trying to tell Jonah that the people of Nineveh are his kids. He cares for them, despite what they've done. Jonah forgot that their deliverance isn't about him. Instead of being grateful that Nineveh changed and found God, grateful that God used him to make that happen, he thought about all the things that he's gone through, and he decided it's not fair. But life isn't fair. But even though life isn't fair, God is still good. And he is still just. And he doesn't want us stuck in our anger. Jonah 4:11. This is the best. This is how this book ends. Love this verse. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their left hand from their right, and also many animals? This is a spot in the Bible where you can see that God definitely loves animals. Like, if the 120,000 people weren't enough, Jonah, like, don't you still love the cows, like, you know, and the sheep? Will that be enough for you to say that you're not angry anymore? God cared about the 120,000 people of Nineveh who needed recovery and didn't have it. They needed the love of God and healing and didn't know about it. And if they did, they didn't care about it. That's why he sent Jonah. to love and protect his kids. Jonah was mad about it. And he went through hell to get there. Anger, also known as resentment, is the #1 offender to our recovery. Use your anger for good. How do we do that? My anger isn't going anywhere, but I can use it as a tool, as energy to keep fighting that good fight of recovery, being of service to others. Now, you're not going to find me trying to be best friends with my son's dad. No, you won't. I don't have to be. But you will find me forgiving that child of God over and over and over again. I'm going to let God handle his son. But man, sure would feel good to get one in, you know what I mean? But how would that look? Hey guys, so I was going to preach about anger tonight, but I had to burn a house down in like a fit of righteous rage. Clearly it was justified. So I don't think I'm the person for this message. I couldn't let anger get the best of me. It's hard. But I have to let God handle his kids. Your parents are his kids. Your siblings, his kids. That person who cuts you off on the road, that's his kid. Remember that. The same mercy that God shows you, can you show to other people? I'm no Jesus, so I fail a lot. Well, one thing I do know is that anger distracts us. This week, I had a carnival to throw. I'm probably 99 degrees, not because of COVID, just because I was out in the sun for 10 hours today. It was hot. It's really hot. And I had to get that done. I have people that I want to serve. I have 3 teenagers who need me all the time. God, I hate cell phones. Mom, can you give me this? Mom, can you give me that? It's awful. They always have access to me. But man, do I love my children. I'm grateful that I get to be their mom. I'm grateful that I get to be in recovery. But if I let this person, my son's dad, make me so mad that I spend the rest of my week just focusing on how I'm going to take you down for the last time, because this time I'm really going to make it happen. Right? This time I'm going to succeed. I would not even be here tonight. I wouldn't be able to be of service to my family, to be able to be here with you tonight. It would distract me. And I decided that I don't have time for anger. I don't have time. I do have time to help people, to be of service. I don't have time for anger. And that's one thing that has helped me to channel that. And so what do I do have time for and not let it distract me? Because in a sense, then the person I'm mad at has control over me. I'm giving up my power to that person. I'm allowing him to make me feel a certain way. And man, I'm so done with that. I got into recovery for a reason, right? And if I jump back into that fight mode, then what have I learned? I want to grow. I want to be smarter. I want to be wiser. And you know what? It's completely human for me to want to be, so mad. And it's completely human for me to want to hurt that guy. But I had to pick Jonah this week to teach myself a little bit of a lesson. And thank God for that. Because if I wouldn't have had this Saturday, I might not have handled it the way I handled it. But I think it's pretty cool how God sets you up for success. The enemy sets you up for failure. The enemy is going to bring people into your life left and right and try to challenge you, especially if you have an anger problem. He's like, I'll give you something to get angry about. Bring it. But God is like, no, I've set you up for success. So when I was feeling really angry, I called my friend Donna. Now, Donna is the kind of friend who will either kill somebody for you or help you forgive them. Those are her 2 options. And so I was like, this is a good person to call because we could go either way and it saves me time, right? 2 birds. And she goes, I'm actually on my way to your house right now. I'm like 5 minutes out. I'm like, of course you are. Of course you are. So we're sitting outside and I'm letting her know. And she goes, Sarah, I can have this handled in like half an hour. But I don't think that's what you want because I've been friends with you for a long time now. So I'm going to maybe motivational interview you real quick. And I was like, God, I flipped her off. I did. I was like, that's fine. Bring it, whatever. She goes, maybe it's not about your son. Maybe it's about the other kids who have parents who get drunk and hit them. Maybe you can start advocating for some laws to change, or being an advocate or working with the Juvenile Public Defender's Office and bring this kind of issue to light. Maybe it's not about you. I was like, God, I hate you. So we don't get to burn a house down today. She goes, no, we're not going to do that. You're going to write your sermon. You're going to forgive it. You're going to nail it. And you're going to let your son work on his boundaries and his plan. 16 years old. What if what you decide to do keeps him from learning a hard lesson that he needs to learn? How many of us have had enabling parents that have kept you maybe in addiction a little bit longer than you could have if they would have just like let you be like, oh, fell again, and let somebody else help you? I want to make sure that I'm raising my son to be a man who's capable of making good decisions and setting boundaries and protecting his family and his kids someday. And if mommy is still rescuing him, then what am I doing for him? So while I'm working on my anger issues, my son has to figure out where that line is for his own personal recovery. And I could get in the way of that. My anger could get in the way of his growth, and God forbid that happen. I don't ever want to do that to my kid. It sucks. But that's just where we're at. So I'm going to end with a song called Fighting for Me. And as you listen, I want you to think about a person or a situation that you're angry about. My challenge to you is to give it over to God tonight and let God handle his kids. This is how you work out your faith and trust muscles. And just by being a human, you get a lot of practice to build that faith muscle and be able to trust God. As much as God has fought for you and me to be here today, living a life of recovery, filled with hope, right? If you attended last week's sermon. He's also fighting for your enemies. Think about the people that God told to pray for you, who fought for you to be here today, who could have destroyed you, but instead they chose to forgive you. Think about those people. Think about the person who has tried to destroy you, like Nineveh, like what I had to deal with this week. Pray for your enemy and wait for that miracle to happen. It might not happen even while you're alive. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we're not going to focus on that. Tonight I want to focus on how free you will feel when you give that over to God. When you start practicing, okay, God, I cannot handle this anger anymore. I cannot carry it. It's preventing me from getting maybe 91 days of sobriety. Maybe 9 days, because what is the number one offender? It's anger. So all you newcomers, all the ones that celebrated all that early recovery, awesome. Congratulations. Don't let anger keep you from getting one more day. Instead, we say, thy will be done. It's a hard thing to do. You thinking? Or do you not have to think at all? You're like, I have 7 ready. Can you hold that for a second? I'm like 5'2" on a good day, so. Are you two? Well, you know, thanks. Got the Midas touch? I need the kind of love that can outlast the night. I need the kind of love that is willing to fight when the going my strength's not enough, I see you showing up like never before. This battle for my heart, you took on from the start, and you are the peace when my mind's at war. And oh, and you will never stop fighting for me when I can't fight for myself. Every word is a promise you keep, 'cause you love me like nobody else. You stand up for me in the darkest nights when my faith is weak. You're still by my side, and you will never stop fighting for me. You will never stop fighting for me. In the perfect timing, you make all things right. You paint a silver lining in this heart of mine. When the going gets tough and my strength's not enough, I see you showing up like never before. This battle for my heart, you took on from the start. You are the peace when my mind's at war. And oh, you will never stop fighting for me when I can't fight for myself. Every word is a promise you keep, 'cause you love me like nobody else. You stand up for me in the darkest night when my strength is weak. You're still by my side, and you will never stop fighting for me. You will never stop fighting for me. And your love is winning me over, and your heart is pulling me closer, and your love is winning me over, and your heart is pulling me closer, and you will never stop fighting for me, fighting for me. And every word is a promise you keep, 'cause you love me like nobody else. You stand up for me in the darkest night when my strength is weak, and you're still by my side, and you will never stop fighting for me. You will never stop fighting for me. When my faith is weak, so how did it go? Feel a little lighter yet? If not, keep practicing. I had to do about 16,000 fourth steps on my son's dad. I'm lying, it was just 23. But I keep practicing, and I keep practicing because it's not about him, it's about me. It's about me and my relationship with God and what I want. And I have worked too hard for the recovery that I have today to throw it away on something like anger. I'm still gonna be mad at addiction. I'm still gonna fight for those who still suffer. But I'm gonna let my Father handle his kids. The ones who spew hate, who spew division, insults, criticism, injustices. Everywhere you go, you are going to face that. And they're gonna hit at your core and make you feel like an idiot, like you're helpless, like you're hopeless, like you're weak. But you are not, because you have the God of the universe on your side who says, I got you, my child. He's got you. So let him take that anger from you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Can we give it up one more time for Sarah Hornbuckle? I think it's incredibly special to be able to articulate a message, but there's just, it's on another level when you can have the gift of voice, when you feel what they're saying, right? Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you. For our next tradition, we have a guest storyteller in the house. This happens to be one of our own. Chris has been part of our tech team, lead of our tech team for quite some time, over 2 years. Does a lot of the behind the scenes work to make sure that things run smooth and make sure that people who aren't even here get the message. Chris is also incredibly passionate about being a part of this community, not just someone who serves it. I'm really excited to interview Chris Merz for tonight. Come on up, Chris. Chris, thanks for joining us up here tonight. Incredibly honored to have you. It's been nice to get to know you. I'm looking forward to some more time. But can you let us in how anger played a part in your journey, in your recovery, and many other things, but specifically your recovery?
Absolutely, and thank you, Jerome. And it's nice to be here. It's an honor to be sitting up here and to be asked to speak on this topic. Although it was a little weird when I guess that it went when they came up with, well, we're going to do anger, and Ryan was like, I know the perfect person for that. Like, me? Really? Thanks a lot. But it's fitting because for me, as much as drugs or alcohol, anger is what brought me to a point of desperation, to a point of seeking recovery and seeking God's will in my life. Anger, even more than drugs and alcohol, has done damage that may never be repaired in my life. And that is to the people that I love most. My anger has damaged my relationship with my children, with my wife. It's caused wreckage and harm that I will be working to make amends for the rest of my life. And it was, my surrendering to my defects of character came right along with surrendering to my addiction and giving it over to the care of my higher power, God as I understand him in Jesus Christ. And it's part and parcel of my disease is what it comes down to.
I get that. Chris, I do have a question for you. As I understand anger, it's not something we always acknowledge, like where it comes from, how we learned it, or in my world, I think few people want to admit that they taught someone how to be angry. So I like to phrase it as maybe they caught how to be angry from someone close to them. So can you explain how anger exists in like your family of origin or your upbringing?
Yeah, and let me preface what I'm about to say by saying that I am completely responsible for my actions. I am completely responsible for my behaviors and the choices that I have made in my life. That being said, when you grow up in a household, especially, and my parents were loving people, wonderful people. My dad was a very loving man, a kind man. He supported us and did all the right things. He was very successful, but he was also an alcoholic. And with that alcoholism and with that disease came anger and rage. And when you're growing up and you see people act a certain way and you were looking up to those folks, say, okay, well, when you get really, really frustrated, it's okay to yell and to scream and to rage. It's obviously, he's getting away with it, and that's obviously what you do to control the situation and put people in their place and everything like that. And, you know, but then, you know, once I was a teenager, I was like, you know, this guy's just a real a-hole, and I want nothing to do with this. I'm never going to be like him, ever, right? And then turns out, as I grow into my own parenting, my own frustration, my own career, my own marriage, and I start acting exactly the same way. That's no excuse, absolutely no excuse for my behavior. That's the patterning. And I'm just really, really grateful to have found another way to live in recovery.
I love hearing that. Chris, I have a big question for you, because our community at large is interested in how this correlates to self, but can you let us in on how anger might have played, or like articulate what your anger was with God or your spirituality? Again, I understand it's a big question, but give it a shot.
Yeah, no, I can speak to that. One thing I do want to add, when it comes to recovery and a relationship with God, that same father died with 20 years sober in Alcoholics Anonymous. And from that time forward, when he invited God back into his life, I never saw him angry again, not in the way that he had been. And he had actually became the man that I always knew he was, and the man that I loved as my father. And that is, I want to say that about how God works in people's lives. I've had a relationship with God and my Savior my whole life, but there were times when I was done with God, when I was so angry at God for things that were happening in my life or things that were happening in the world, the behaviors that I saw myself and others have. You know, it was like, humans, what the fuck? Seriously? Why are people going to act like this? And why are so many horrible things happening? Why do innocent children have, you know, all this stuff that you go through? And I was just like, this is a terrible world. And I got so angry, and, you know, my resistance to accepting life on life's terms and reality put me at odds with God. I read a book when I was in sober living that talked about when I'm in opposition to reality, I'm separating myself from God, because my God's real. My God, when I'm living in illusion, delusion, or fantasy, I'm separating myself from God. When I can embrace reality, whether I like it or not, and accept reality, then I am inviting the God of my understanding into my life. And when it comes down to anger with God, you know, my last relapse was 6 years, and it started with my father's death, and then my grandmother's death was my last living grandparent, then my mother's death, and then I became the eldest of that particular line of my family. And then my wife, my lovely wife who's here tonight, which is a miracle in and of itself, got into a head-on collision and had every limb in her body shattered. And I was on scene before EMS, and all these, you know, these terrible things kept happening, and I kept using more and more to cope, and getting angrier and angrier at God, until that anger ended me in a situation where I was basically, you know, kicked out of my home. I was not allowed to be with my family. I was not able to even be with my children. And everyone paid a very heavy consequence for my actions. Everyone did. And in my surrender, coming back to God, I didn't want to be angry at God anymore. I just wanted help. And so it was a real test of that in about 9 months clean this time around, when our youngest daughter was diagnosed with leukemia. And she's doing really well. She's over in the kids' room right now. She's doing fantastic. She's in remission. Praise God. God is good. But I really wanted to be angry with God. I wanted to be so furious with God. And I remember that morning that I found out, calling the pillars in my recovery. One is a man who's sitting right over here, Lex, thank you. And I called Lex, and I called my brother, and I called my sponsor, and I called my therapist, and I called Rev Ryan. And I remember talking to Rev Ryan, I believe it was Rev, and saying, Ryan, what do I do with this? What do I do with this feeling? I need God right now. I need God right now. I can't push him away. So what do I do with this? And he said, it's my belief that terrible things happen all the time. They happen to good people. They happen to innocent people. They happen to all of us. And God's not here to prevent those things from happening to us. God is here with us to help us walk through those things. And that's what I needed to hear. That's what made sense to me at the time. Because I was not pleased with God. I was not really sure what the hell was going on, and I was not okay with this whatsoever, but I also needed God. And so it was this very tentative thing, like, I'm not cool with you right now, but please come with me in this. I need you here. My family needs you. It's me and my God. We're good like that. He's like, I'm cool, right? No matter how pissed off I get, God's still cool. So.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. One of the things that really struck me about our conversation was how you addressed, anger's not a root emotion, right? It disguises so many things. I remember our conversation about fear, but I think that one's even easy. Can you shed some light on some of the things that anger disguises for us emotionally, as a man? Because I know emotions in circles of men, especially in a public forum, are incredibly difficult to have, but you have a really special way of touching on how things really come together full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. It was mentioned earlier, and Sarah mentioned that resentment's the number one offender, the number one danger to our recovery. And it's also said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that anger is the dubious luxury of normal men and women. I can't afford anger. I cannot afford to be run on anger. And what really helps me with that most is understanding that anger is never a primary emotion, ever, for me. It is always covering something, and most often that something is fear.
Can you say that one more time for those who might still be processing at the magnitude of what you just said?
Anger is never a primary emotion. It is always a cover emotion, and most generally, it's for fear. If I am angry, and this is what the inventory process has taught me, this is the inventory process that my sponsorship line has beat into us, is that I write down what I'm pissed off about and who did it to me and how it's affecting me, and I get it out. My sponsor said, I can never accuse you of not doing that part thoroughly. But then I get to the part, what am I afraid of? What do I fear? Do I fear being alone? Do I fear being less than? Do I fear going bankrupt? Do I fear not having the love of my kids? Do I fear continuing to hurt people? Do I fear looking like a fool on stage? Do I fear batteries running out of my microphone, which is why we have a second microphone for this service?
We're quick learners here.
And, what is it that I fear? It's always covering fear or grief. Grief is another one. If I'm sad and just in that place of terrible grief, anger can crop up as an easier way to deal with that, but it's never a primary emotion. It's bullshit. It's a cover. It's a front. So if I'm going to get honest, if I'm going to really meet God in reality, invite God into my life, and deal with what I've got in front of me, then I'm going to have to get past the anger to what's actually happening. And as a man, I say that, but that's BS. I know plenty of women who have anger issues. So as a human being with anger problems, it behooves me to talk with people I trust, in my case, other men, to get to the root of these things, to find out what's really going on and get vulnerable, get honest, and face do the inside job, do the work.
Yeah, I love that. It lands with me on a very deep level. I was so scared of grief and loss in my recovery. It took a few men with the courage and bravery for you to talk about emotions for me to get interested. And for that, I'm grateful. In closing, is there anything that you could tell someone that might be in their journey or a viewer online who is facing anger in their journey? Is there anything that you could give to them to encourage them to reach out for help, or words of encouragement, if you will?
Absolutely. I would first say that for a man, If you are struggling with this, if you need help, reach out to other men. Find yourself a support group. Find yourself people who understand. If you are in recovery, talk to your sponsor, talk to your sponsee brothers, talk to other people in your recovery trusted circle, and get angry with them. Take that anger to them. Don't take it home. Do not take it to your wife and your children. Do not take it to the people who don't deserve it. Take it to other men who can handle that with you, who can walk with you through the feelings, who can dig deep, uncover what's really going on before you do damage that you can't undo. Please. There are alternatives. That's what I would recommend. That's what I would absolutely encourage. And if there's anyone here tonight or in the community who wants to talk about these things with me, I'm available. Come talk to me after service. I'll give you my number. Somebody will give you my number. I'm here to talk. Because as a man who I love very much, who has been instrumental in my recovery in my life, told me once, we will get through this together.
Chris, thank you. It's not lost on me the sensitive nature of the topic at hand. I think there were a million directions that you could have taken this, but just the true authenticity that you bring to this conversation, I really appreciate it. And no, again, you're not alone. There are men. I've had some intimate conversations with men in this community about this very topic, but thank you for being available to us and shedding light on this. You're a good man. Thanks, Chris. One final tradition that we have on Saturday nights is the heartaches. So in order to have access to a breakthrough, we must experience first the breakdown. And for some of us, it's in the form of heartaches. So for the next 3 minutes, we'll go ahead and share those. And for those online, please share them in the comments and we'll address them when we come back. For now, this 3 minutes is yours.
If we could just pray for a friend of mine's family. She was a girl in my sober living house. She passed away from a drug overdose last Sunday. And so her family's really suffering, as well as the girls in the house. It's the first one that we've experienced so close. So if we could just pray for those, that they're able to get through this.
Prayers for your friend, Layla. Death is a detail of addiction we often step over or don't put on the table when we have these discussions. It is an unfortunate consequence if we do nothing. And sometimes, even when we act, it still happens. But we're here for you if and when it happens. Thanks for sharing.
My name is Simon. I'd like to say I also have a friend, somebody that we worked with. We just found out very recently that he passed away from a fentanyl overdose a few weeks ago. We had been out of touch with this gentleman, and it's just very sad news for us to hear.
Thanks for sharing, lifting you up.
Yeah, I guess I just asked for prayers for my family. Lost a loved one to alcoholism last month. And then my best friend's family lost my best friend to suicide the day after. So my family, myself, and his family needed prayers and need them really bad. So thank you.
Sending some extra love to you. I'm happy to chat with you tonight if that would bring you up. The final minute, everyone. Do we have any more? I think we have time for 3. We have one up front.
I'll double dip. I would like to say some prayers. So in tonight's sermon, talking about anger, I have a son who is extremely he's just a very angry person right now, and he's very angry at the world, and most of that anger is directed at me. So if we could say some prayers for my son, please.
You got it. We're here for you. Thanks for sharing.
Prayers for my daughter. She's struggling with addiction and just a mess, and just trying to get her daughter back and try to, get sober. So just prayers for that. Thank you.
Yeah, prayers for you and your daughter. That's it for tonight. For in here, Adam, would you like to come up and do some heartaches with me for our online viewers? The small monitor's down, so we have to turn our back to everybody, but I think they'll understand.
We support everybody in the sober and addicted community.
That's right. Go ahead, Adam. You can have the first one.
Gene Scarborough.
Yep.
Jeannie, my 16-year-old diabetic kitty passed away last weekend. Please pray for his easy transition to kitty heaven and for my broken heart.
Yeah. Jan,
Prayers.
I understand what it's like to lose a loved one. They sometimes are pets too, right? Well, not sometimes. They are. Courtney, I miss my children. I pray God reunites them with me soon. Amen. Lifting you up, Courtney. Thanks for sharing.
That's not good. Julie, prayers for my nephew who is unable and unwilling to stop drinking. And prayers for my sister as she tries to deal with her son's addiction while also caring for her grandkids. Prayers to you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie. That's it for tonight. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. We'll take that.
Have a good evening.
You too. One last thing before everyone goes. I would like to ask everyone in the community to consider giving to Free Recovery Community. We have 4 specific ways that you can do so. One of them is on our app, Free Recovery Community. If you search that on your app store, or Free Spiritual Community. Somebody said they had some trouble accessing it last service. Try Free Spiritual Community, it should show up. The second one would be our website, freerecoverycommunity.com. There's a donate tab on there. It is easy peasy. Click, 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 done. It's that simple. Our third way are the giving kiosks, one at the front, one at the back, for those cash and check types who like to do that, and we really appreciate it. And the final way would be our dip jar. It's set at $20. You can't do more, you can't do less. Put your card in the machine, you dip it, lights flash, good job, you win. And we are also winners to help, do what we do here at the community. If you cannot financially give at this time, we are asking that you please write us a review. We have the Google reviews, Facebook, YouTube, any public platform that you can share your experience with our community. We would really appreciate it. Because in today's world, many people rely on those reviews before they even interact with something, and we are no different. We do, like every Saturday night, one final thing, we will close with a prayer. Sarah, would you come assist me with this?
Right on. I picked the third step prayer for tonight to end with. Because going out from here, it's thy will be done. Anytime you want to flip somebody off, thy will be done. Right? All right, let's pray. God, I offer myself to thee to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Amen.
It's fine. I got it. No, I'm so angry. I'm gonna go fourth step this one right after. Thank you for joining us tonight. You will see next week we also have Noelle will be preaching. She'll be delivering the message. She'll be back. And then remember the rest week, July 6th. I know some of you are going to show up. I will not. Yeah, okay. You guys can do that. But I appreciate you. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.